Welcome to Season 2 of Path of the Brush. Let's sling some paint.
That's right. You're listening to me play my air guitar in that riff. Just kidding. That was Mark in the background. Welcome to Path of the Brush. I'm your host, Rick. Today's going to be a lot of fun. We are returning to the War Zone or Warzone Eternal with our good friend Alex over at Resnova. Hey, Alex, thanks for joining us.
Rick, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Always, of course. I think tonight's going to be an interesting one, considering we aren't necessarily painting Warzone Eternal miniatures. We're going to definitely talk about the game and the miniatures and all the things that you've been doing since the last time we chatted in season one. But we're going to be painting today a bit of terrain from our friends over at Elric Hobbies, who picked up these terrain boards, and I think it'll be kind of neat because ever since I started hanging out with you and talking with all the folks that run the Michigan GT and all the wargaming friends I have around me, I've seen these display boards at different conventions where people put their armies or their miniatures on these presentation boards, and this just kind of gives me that vibe and feel. And now I want to put, I want to put Mishima, my Mishima squad on this, right? So
Mishima would look good.
I think so, right? And what's kind of cool is as you look at this pile of post-apocalyptic rubble, um, you got 50-gallon barrels, you've got some chains and all sorts of this looks like an engine over here of some sort from like a jet or something, some container box sides, but it just reminds me of that fateful day in 1994. I don't know if you will recall, but in 1994, a runaway planet collided between the Earth and the Moon, unleashing cosmic destruction. So, which kind of led us to the war zone, I think. But maybe it's from something else,
That might be one of the backstories. Yeah,
right? So, what have you been up to since our last conversation? Because last time we talked, the Kickstarter was launching, and now the Kickstarter it hasn't fulfilled, but has come to completion, and something else is going on with it, right?
that's correct. Yeah. So when we talked last, I believe it was like literally the last day of the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Um, and so since then, we've opened up the backer kit. We've pushed out a beta copy of the rules for people to try the game out. There's an active Discord channel that we hang out in. Yeah,
Nice.
there's a life to the game that's kind of developing, and it's been pretty cool to participate in it.
It's been wild watching all the conversations that pop up because I'm in a couple of the groups, as you know, with the the playtest group and everything, and watching everybody's comments about how the game is being played because you sent out the rules for testing and stuff amongst a bunch of folks, and they are rabid.
I think that's a good way to describe it. Yeah,
Yeah, in a good way, of course.
100%. I mean, they've provided a lot of insight. It becomes a significantly larger playtesting group than you could ever put together on your own.
Hmm.
And they've had a lot of really good insight. What's been nice is, a lot of that insight has been, well, this game seems to pretty much work as presented.
Hmm.
So it hasn't meant, that Brian and I have been scrambling to correct things.
Right.
But where people have pointed things out, we've been pleased that they've been able to do so, and it's given us an opportunity to, we feel at least, improve the game even more so, right? I mean, every incremental change takes you closer and closer to what you hope is perfection.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you guys are definitely doing it well because I don't see a lot of you know, pitchforks and torches in any of the conversations I'm seeing. You might see
Not yet.
some, but I'm not seeing any of those things. So,
Yeah, no, not yet. We'll see. I mean, there's there's a long road ahead.
so what are some of the things that the community is kind of showing as far as um, the different factions that were available? Do you kind of have a metric as to which faction is getting the most love right now? based on like the backer kit and late pledges and such?
Yeah, so the big bad guy faction, the one that, or at least the one big bad guy faction that we made part of the Kickstarter, which is Elgaroth, right, which is one of the Dark Legion factions. That they are hands down the most popular when it comes to a singular faction. But
Okay.
that's kind of expected, right? Because everybody likes the bad guy, even a little bit. Um, and Elgroth also has all the really cool kind of wild creations, right? They're the ones with the zombie legionnaires, and they're the ones with the techno organic walking
Hmm.
tanks effectively in the Razids. So yeah, it's a cool faction, and for those people who want to kind of experience the weirdness of Warzone and Mutant Chronicles, that's the faction to play.
Okay.
Um,
And the Razid are like those big muscle purplish things,
yep,
right? Okay.
yep, exactly. A creature that's constructed out of steel and alien stone, and is as much a machine as it is a living creature.
Okay.
And yeah, it's kind of like a walking heavy weapons platform for the Elroth faction.
Yeah, let's see it. Oh yeah, there he is. It's weird how you guys were able to capture my likeness so well in that model. Because I don't know if anybody watching knows this. I am alien technology in stone, and I could probably carry that gun that he's carrying right there, but I don't think I could shoot it.
No, we were really appreciative of you allowing us to use your likeness for this. I mean,
Well,
most people, that's a significant hurdle to get someone to do that.
oh, absolutely. And I feel like it was a little bit of an ambush when you guys invited me out to do what is it, MoCAD or MoCap? And I had all those like balls all over my face, and you're all laughing and giggling in the background. But here, there I was, you know.
Well,
Uh,
it
but it
created
looks
the
it
most
looks amazing. Yeah.
it created the most popular figure in the range so far. So good job.
Oh, another big bad coming in. What we got? Ooh,
That is the Nephirite. So that
nice.
is one of the generals, warlords, the extra dimensional creatures that lead the Elgroth forces into battle.
Nice. I mean, he looks devastating. With he's got the horns, which I'm guessing does he have like a ramming speed ability or something where he can like crash into you and spear you?
He doesn't, because he prefers to use the giant chain sword on a glaive that
Mm,
he has there instead.
I mean,
So,
you never know when you're gonna drop your glaive.
well, that's true. That is
Right.
true.
Could I get a one
Um,
up on the glaive's ability then?
and so actually, the Nephirite is. I know that the people who have been playing the beta rules are really excited because we
Hmm.
got an updated version of the beta that's going to hopefully drop, hope probably next week, and
Okay.
it will have the first um, the first release of the Nephirite stats,
Okay. Nice.
so people will be able to play with the Nephirite at home.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Now, besides the Dark Legion, I was kind of also hoping to hear of like what is the most popular corporation faction that people are kind of snagging for their orders.
yeah.
So,
So and it's funny, right? Because it's always been this case. I think that these factions kind of epitomize what a lot of people think the Warzone aesthetic looks like. But it's Bauhaus and Imperial.
okay,
Bauhaus being the Western European, Germanic, Prussian
okay,
sci-fi faction, and Imperial being the British Commonwealth and um, the UK
okay.
at its height.
What's that?
The UK at its height.
Wait,
Um,
yeah, there's some Bauhaus right there.
yep, those are the Venusian Rangers, which are another one of the long time fan favorites.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody with a skull mask and a cool hood like that, right? It's going to go over well.
Agreed. I actually that's one of the ones I have. I have a bunch of these models already for playtesting, and then I've got. Uh, it's so funny, right? Because ha- working with you and doing some stuff in regards to, or whatever, and I pledged on the Kickstarter $10 because I wanted to watch and read all the comments and kind of be a fly on the wall. But then when the backer kit opened up, I was like, oh, I'll go in there and just yep. My $10 was for no thing, and then I'm like, oh, that looks cool. I'll get that. That looks cool. I'll get that. So I got the Mishima starter box, and then I got the Archangel
Yep.
uh, objective miniature, and there was another objective miniature, but I can't remember what it was called. I think it was a female.
Yeah, there's a cartel agent, which actually is
Right.
not just an objective model. It's actually a fieldable model that
Oh, okay.
any of the corporations can include in their force.
Oh, okay.
So,
But I got both of those, and then got I think um, one of the faction dice sets or something like that.
cool. Well, as I tell everyone who has supported us in this endeavor, I very much appreciate it.
Of course. I just wasn't expecting to go in there and be like, "Ooh, that looks nice. Ooh, piece of candy. Ooh, piece of candy." You know, this, but because the models look so good, and now that I have some understanding of how to play these small skirmish games, I was like, "Yeah, I could field these guys. It'd be great."
Well, it's good.
Next
I
week,
mean,
finally, what is this? Looks like we've got some Warzone in the house, says JP, and then Lord Korok says next week, finally. Let's go, Alex.
like I
Uh,
said, there are some very enthusiastic fans looking
yeah,
for more opportunities to test out new stuff. So it's
absolutely.
cool.
Those Venusian Rangers look like their specialty is peaceful diplomatic resolution.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're relying upon the other side of that negotiation to be peaceful. Just choose to be peaceful. But yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah, I can see it. Uh, those guys with the evil pilots against He-Man, plots against He-Man, those probably get a natural +2 to their peaceful ceasefire rolls. Nice. Yeah, the community is awesome. So speaking of community, with the Kickstarter and everything going on, what are some surprises that the community has kind of like good surprises that you're like, oh, this is awesome that kind of sprung from this endeavor?
Yeah, I think it's the fact that pushing out the beta rules, right? You're always,
Mhm.
there's one or two things that could happen in the worst case scenario, right? Number one, you push it out and like nobody bothers to play the game at all, right? Nobody
Sure.
tries it, nobody provides any feedback. So kind of the effort to get a set of beta rules released, kind of ends up being a wasted effort. And that's
Sure.
definitely not been the case here.
Okay.
The other concern, right, is then you push something out like that and you realize like, wow, we've utterly miscalculated something, or people just the rules are not gelling with them. And so far, the community has really shown like, well, that's not the case. Like these, they like the direction that we went. Even the few places, right, where Brian and I decided we're going to deviate a fair bit from the way previous editions of Warzone had appeared mechanically.
Hmm.
Um, even those people who were slightly hesitant at first,
Right.
they've played the games and they've come back and they're like, yeah, no, this makes sense.
Nice.
We see why he did it this way. It's easy to pick up, and so I guess, yeah, I guess it's just really the fact that the responses have been generally overwhelmingly positive, and this is the legacy community. It's got a
Hmm.
lot of passion for the game, so you're always you're always hoping that you did the right thing or that you hit the right marks, but you never know.
Right.
Um, so the consistent positive feedback has been a great um, I guess it's a surprise. I mean, because again, we couldn't take it for granted.
Right. Well, you also, I mean, this is a passion piece for you because it's one of your favorite IPs to play with. Uh, right, from when you were a wee lad who was just getting into the war game and miniature scene, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is yeah, I think people have become very quickly um, understanding that this was not an attempt by a small company to make a quick grab for cash by latching on to an existing IP that has had some success in the past. We're Brian and I are doing the things necessary to try to give this thing some legs, give it
Hmm.
some life going forward. And we're doing that because regardless of how big the game may or may not get, we love the game, we love the universe, and we want to continue playing in it and giving other people an opportunity to play in it.
And I think that, like you said, they absolutely are recognizing that. One of the things that I saw come out of this based on the community rallying around the love of the IP is the individual who's doing the comics, the the cartoon stuff,
Yep, that's Cormac, and yeah, he's
killing
um, he is. And the thing that's fun, and the reason why it was so cool when he decided to start posting this stuff was because like a universe like Warzone, universe like Mutant Chronicles,
it. Hmm.
has the possibility of becoming a little bit too full of itself, right? A little bit too focused on kind of these fatalistic, grim aspects. When so much of it is really intended to be kind of over the top, 1980s action movie stuff.
Hmm.
And so, what Cormac's done is allowed a bit of levity to be brought to the to how Resnova is presenting this world.
Right.
And I mean, obviously, we're not sculpting chibi miniatures. All that stuff is going to exist solely within things like
Hmm.
these little comics.
Yeah.
But the fact that people can see that and they can realize that we're all supposed to just be having fun with it,
Yeah. Because it
that's
is a
that's
game
cool.
after all.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, 100%.
I think it really speaks to the community's like love of the not just the game but also the characters and the insights that the community has like latched onto as well. Like again at Adepticon this year when Trencher Dave came into existence, right? And how the community is now Trencher Dave is a thing, and we talked about it a little bit in the first interview last season, but there needs to be just Trencher Dave merch everywhere. Pins. I would follow Trencher Dave into any trench, Just call to actions to for the support of Trencher Dave, who is by all accounts Spartacus.
That's right. Yeah,
Everybody is.
at the very least, like bumper stickers, right?
Yeah.
Follow me to or this way to the front line or something like that.
With a quote as a quote Trencher Dave.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's it's so good. It's so fun uh, to see the brevity that people can throw into a game about conflict in the future against dark alien species. Um, Another question that I have, and I'm sure anybody that backed the Kickstarter has as well, is how did you get Sam Elliott to voice the narrative of your guys' Kickstarter video?
Well, what people don't know is that Sam Elliott is a big Warzone fan.
I knew it.
Yeah, no, yeah. So Jeremy Waltman was the guy who put together and directed, scripted the Kickstarter campaign video.
Yeah.
And I mean, not only did he just do an awesome job with the camera work, but he knows a bunch of really talented voice actors out
Hmm.
in his area. And he's like, so what do you think about this kind of voice? And right, I mean, like the whole shtick is that you're out in this, far future and humanity is stretched thin, assaulted on all sides by rival corporations and, the Dark Legion. So, just the kind of the sound of a voice that just seems weary and, has seen it all. It was just like, oh, this is perfect.
Yeah. We should probably watch that. Yeah, let's watch. Roll that fabulous bean footage.
Long ago, we fled to the stars to ensure our survival. Earth left forgotten and discarded, exploited to ruin by mega corporations. Across the inner solar system, mankind spread competing for territory and dominance. In their lust for dominion, they released something alien and terrible. Now, humanity is set upon on all sides. Rival corporations and the Dark Legion locked in endless combat across countless war zones.
Warzone Eternal is the officially licensed tabletop miniature skirmish game from Res Nova Games, set in the techno-fantasy universe of Mutant Chronicles. A universe where the reality-bending magic of the Dark Symmetry courses through the system, and in its wake marches the Legions of Darkness. Players participate firsthand in the countless scenarios and engagements that define this fictional time of interplanetary and extra-dimensional strife. Getting into Warzone Eternal is easy, with any starter set providing the miniatures to field a balanced force for one player to learn the game. Players can then expand their collection to include new factions, or further build out their favorite army. How you choose to explore the war zones of the Mutant Chronicles universe is up to you.
The battle against humanity's greed and darkness, it's eternal.
It's eternal. It's so good. Your camera popped off, your overhead, I think.
Nope.
It shut off? So yeah, that is just so funny when you hear that. Obviously, it's not Sam Elliott, but it so sounds like it. But now I feel like that's Trencher Dave's voice when he's sitting there with young troopers or young trenchers and be like, when I first got into the, you know, into the Corps and went into my first trench, sure, I pissed myself. But I'm standing here today thanks to the trencher beside me on my left and on my right. If it weren't for them, there wouldn't be no Trencher Dave. I just think that's that's Trencher Dave. He's the narrator. He's like the from 300, the guy with the eye patch. Is that who was it that who was the actor that played that uh that Spartan?
Eye patch. I'm generally terrible at remembering who did what in movies, and definitely don't ask me what the quotes are from a movie, because I will never
David
remember.
Wenham. Yes. Thank you, Will. David Wenham. Oh yeah, I actually mentioned that to Will and Mark, who are in the background, the producers, that you don't do quotes. You
I
don't
don't.
you don't hold on to them, and so you don't speak in the quote culture of pop culture.
I don't. I realize it's a failing.
I don't know if it's a failing. I just find it very fun. Where I could sit there and go something like, you know, are you ready? Bonesaw's ready. And you would not know where that came from. Do you know where that came from?
Bones.
Bonesaw's ready.
I don't. I'm sorry.
What was your answer, Mark? That is not right. Great guess, The Running Man. Will? It would be Spider-Man. Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. Yeah. It was Macho Man Randy Savage when Peter needed to earn a little extra money, and he went in to become a wrestler. And he went up against Bonesaw.
I'll take your word for that.
No, but it's fun to drop quotes around you, and you're just like, I have no idea.
It's true. It's all right. I think that I've got other quality features, but who knows?
You do. You have yeah. Um,
Oh, he's thinking. He's thinking. That's great. I'll give you a list next time, all right?
of qualities.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, you've got qualities. Absolutely. Anybody in the chat that knows Alex, please list the qualities that you find positive with Alex.
You know, I got to say, Rick, I think I'm starting to realize I made a mistake by going with the many colors of material in a scrapyard.
Really? I
I
think it
think
looks
I'll be
great.
here. I think I'll be here till tomorrow.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Let's see what we got here. One of my regular viewers said that back in the day, his store sold Warzone at 3-1 against 40K. That's wild to think about.
Yeah, I mean that's what we say to some of the people who are getting you or learning about the history of the system
Hmm.
or the world. I mean, back in its heyday, it was the number two selling miniatures game in the United States, and that's
Crazy.
behind 40K and before in front of Warhammer Fantasy.
Wow. I mean, that's an impressive legacy to live up to.
No,
I think,
no,
I think you got it, brother. I think
no,
you got
no small challenge there. Thanks, Rick.
it. No, no, not at all, but a great legacy. Let's see what else we got here in the chat. JP says, hint, it was Spider-Man. He's correct. It was Spider-Man. One of the best things to come from the Discord was trying to decipher how the Necromower turns, or the minor religion based around the blue dice. Wait, there's a religion based just around the blue dice of the game? Nice.
There was a couple demo games that were run at this past Gen Con, and
Hmm.
whoever used this particular blue dice
Okay.
could not fail, and their
Really?
opponents were destined to lose regardless.
Destined by the bishop's hand, huh? It is the
Well,
bishop, right? Or the
the,
cardinal?
the bishop, the
Cardinal.
bishop of the blue dice, yeah,
Yeah.
the card, yes.
Nice. Alex is fair and measured, says Lord Korak. Also, and he lets new players use his cracked dice. Nice. Lord Korak is a pretty cool name, by the way.
He is he's one of the regulars on the Discord. For those of you interested in chatting with some Warzone fans, like I said, there's a pretty active Discord that a fan put together in support of it, and Lord Korak is one of the institutions over on that Discord.
Nice. If Lord Korak would be so kind, could you share the link to this into the Discord? If you haven't already. Not the Discord link in the chat, but the link of the video of going up there and hitting Gen Con TV, twitch.tv/Gen Con TV, and putting it in the Discord so others can come and harass Alex as well.
I actually already threw that in those before I got here.
Okay,
So
great. We just want to make sure that as many people can come and be like, ask Alex anything, everybody. That's
yeah,
what we're here today to do. So yeah, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat so that we can put him on the edge of that seat that he's painting in. Yeah, what is a necromower?
That is one of the old Necromowers. Yeah, so it's a basically a souped up dune buggy with a heavy machine gun. That's got a different weapon on it. That was from a different iteration of Warzone a number of
Okay.
years ago. But
Okay.
normally it's got this massive Gatling gun mounted on the side of it, and this like future Scottish Highlander drives around waving a claymore while shooting massive amounts of ammunition from this Gatling gun.
And he's just saying stuff like, get out in the way.
That's right.
I gotta burn you down, lads. Burn
Yeah,
you down.
it looks like we keep losing my camera.
Yeah.
And we jumped to other stuff. I'm not sure
You
what's
know,
going on.
I think it's probably fine if you just turn it off when it's time to show off some of your progress. We'll just have you hold it up in front of your other camera.
We can do that.
Yeah, just so it's you know not giving anybody uh what is it when you get the flashing lights, epilepsy, may
Or,
cause seizures.
or people just think I'm being shy.
Right. They don't want to see all the colors that you're putting on these panel boards and going, he's not wrong. He's going to be there forever.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, we'll turn the camera off and then I'll just jump. I'll grab my hairbrush and all of a sudden it'll all be done.
I would be so upset. It's like, I hear it, Alex. I hear you over there.
Is that a compressor? No, I'm just very, very happy to be here.
I do like the, again, as you start looking at these kind of like terrain boards here and throw your brushes around, seeing as you're putting paint on it, you're seeing all these new details of what lies in the pile of rubble, and there's some weird stuff in here.
There is.
Like I'm like looking at like some of these like these tubes here. I don't know if you can see where I'm touching it here. Probably not. Like right here, there's these tubes here, and it reminds me of Doomsday from when Doomsday came and beat up Superman back in the 90s and killed Superman. When he first appeared, he was in this like green suit and he had all these like bound like wires and tubing around him, and that kind of reminds me of that tubing.
Yeah, there's a very industrial worm look to these things.
Yeah. I feel like this what is this called? Diamond grid, diamond cut gridding here. I may have to hit it with a little like dark tone or something. It's like,
Yeah, that's the nice thing about a piece like this is, you can sit there and block in a whole bunch of colors, and then you come in with a wash, and
Yeah.
the wash basically does the work for you.
oh, absolutely. Use all your cheats that you can.
Absolutely, yes. Piece this big, again, you'll be here till next week if you don't.
Right. Oh, now I see it. I didn't quite see it before, but this right here is a door, the front end of a vehicle, and the truck part of this like armored up pickup truck that's buried in all this stuff.
Yeah, you got the hood and the side door. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is kind of interesting because it makes me think of what we were talking about yesterday, that rusting effect or rusting
Yep.
stuff. That would be kind of cool because if it's buried like that, it's just rust.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. The dirty down products
Mhm.
they're awesome.
But we're big fans of Army Painter speed paints.
Absolutely. So far, everything I've used has been from the Speed Paint 2.0 range, and they are nice.
Yeah. So a big shout out to our sponsors, Army Painter, our exclusive paint sponsors for this season, and also to Gen Con TV for allowing us to come on here and do this silliness every week. And a big thank you to everybody that joins us and is like, you guys are just being silly, and it's true. Let's see I got into the stream a few minutes late. What are we painting tonight? Oh, we are painting. So these are just some terrain boards from our friends over at Elric Hobbies. What was the name of the company that originally had these?
Secret Weapon.
Secret Weapon. Yeah. So Elric Hobbies picked it up, and I got my hands on some of them, and I was like, these would be fun to paint on stream. Because there's so much going on this one in particular. So that's what we're painting. JP says that's not a dune buggy, that's a doom buggy. Nice. About the doom mower, is that what it's called, or
Uh,
the
actually, the full name is the Hedgehog Necromower.
hedgehog necromower?
And again, with a name like that, you have to recognize that you're supposed to have a bit of fun with this
Yeah.
universe. And so, yeah, going back to that conversation about Cormax comics, yeah, I mean, they're just absolutely appropriate to explore the universe that way a little bit.
Yeah, when, like you said, with names like that, it has to be, one-liners. Like if I play the game against somebody, I'm gonna be like, and you're not a fan of one-liners and quotes, but I'm gonna be like, chill out, you know. You
I
remember
wouldn't say that I'm not a fan. I'm just terrible at knowing where they come from.
or be like, remember when I told you I'd kill you last? Trench with Dave. I lied. Let off some steam. What unit are you most excited to introduce that we don't yet have?
Oh, that sounds like somebody angling for a future release.
That does sound like that. Brilliant question, by the way.
Yeah, I'll give it to him. So for me, there's so Capital is the kind of the North American Yojo Gung Ho corporation. And they had a faction called the Sea Lions, which are kind of the Mutant Chronicles Warzone equivalent of the Navy SEALs, right? They're the amphibious special forces, and I always thought they were cool. Back in the day, part of the reason I liked them was because I was a bit of a contrarian, and they were mechanically not nearly as good as anything else in that faction.
Okay.
So I insisted on taking them just out of pure spite, I think. So finally coming back around and making the Sea Lions kind of a cool unit is something I want to do.
Okay.
And then in addition to Elgaroth, like I said, which is the big baddie, there are a number of other Dark Legion apostles that have forces that are unique to them, and one of them is Ilian, and she's kind of the mistress of magic.
Okay.
She's the one who kind of led to the mystical breakdown of much of mankind's technology. So bringing her and her forces to the tabletop will be cool because she'll play really differently than Elgaroth, which is pretty much just a sledgehammer to the face.
Nice, which nobody appreciates, by the way.
No, I mean, I think they do. I think the Razids do, but
yeah, well, they love delivering the punishment.
Right,
Sure.
exactly. Yes.
But having been hit in the face with a sledgehammer, thanks, Dad.
I was gonna say, not sure many people could speak to that kind of experience, but
no, no. Do you remember the old the song Sledgehammer?
yeah, of course.
Yeah, that every time I hear the word sledgehammer, that's the hit to the face I get. Is that video just in my mind? Is that Sledgehammer video from the '80s? And it's just like, God, Elgaroth.
Yeah, I gotta say that it's probably one of the least Warzone videos that we could probably pick. But
right. When I think Warzone like content, I think Commando from Arnold Schwarzenegger's Commando. Though it isn't in a Warzone futuristic apocalyptic post-apocalyptic scenario, every line he says in that movie I think can be reiterated in the Warzone game and should be.
I think that's probably true. I mean, we got to be careful about how many of those lines that we decide to use directly, because
Sure.
we might get a letter from a lawyer.
Oh, okay. Well, can we just counter that letter from another lawyer? Isn't that how that works?
I don't think they just go back and forth like that until somebody says, I won. Or maybe that's actually exactly
I concede.
Yeah, exactly, right.
Law.
I got to admit, I didn't see it that way, but I guess you are right.
Dang, if only it was that easy.
Exactly, yes.
Uh, so, what is some of the things that the community, besides just showing, um, all the appreciation that they do and uh, everything, like in the Discord, has there been anything that people have maybe not like reached out to you directly, but through conversations that you or Brian have kind of like gleaned and been like, "Ooh, that is a pretty cool idea," or "Yeah, that maybe we should have done that," and you're like, "Yeah, let's add that or let's make that tweak," even though they didn't ask for it directly. Have you had anything like that?
Well, so one of the things that I think Brian have been and I have been doing is trying to be really transparent about a lot of stuff. So like,
Yeah.
we engage in direct conversations with all of the fans on the channel, and we if there are questions or people aren't understanding things, we will directly respond to try to get ahead of it. But as part of that, I mean, we've had a number of cases where we've come back and we're like, okay, yeah, we see exactly what you're saying,
Hmm.
and it's led to a change. I mean, nothing fortunately has been massively disruptive to the
Okay.
work that we've done up to this point. But
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, there's like for instance, there's a function in the game where certain weapons, because they kind of shoot in a parabolic arc, right? Something like a grenade launcher, or even just throwing a grenade. You have the ability to attack a place that you can't actually directly see,
Okay.
and so that that led to a whole ton of conversation. And Brian and I just kind of watched it for a while, and then ultimately we looked at it and said, yeah, I think we probably should tweak this a little bit.
Okay.
And we came back, we told people, yes, you guys provided a bunch of really valuable information on this, and we don't disagree that this needs to be tweaked in some way. um so yeah, I think there's been a lot of direct communication like that. I mean, now it's not, this game design can't be a democratic process, right? At some point somebody has to say, no, this is what we're doing.
Of course.
um because there's just too much opportunity for the game design
Chaos.
to suffer from analysis paralysis forever.
Right. Or just sheer chaos.
Right.
All right.
And we would like to avoid sheer chaos as much as possible.
Right. So, um, one of the things I find interesting too is you mentioned our Lord Korok has a great name. Great name, Lord Korok. I love it. Last night when you were here at my studio, we were chatting a little bit about your Discord name, right?
That's true.
Um, so what could you remind me what your Discord name is? Because one came to mind that I think you could go in there and change it for just that channel, and I think you're gonna like it. But I want people to know what yours is.
It's literally just a canals.
Huh.
I don't think I've come up with a creative handle on any social media
Mm.
in, well, I think since social media existed. I think the last time I had a creative handle, I was going into AOL chat rooms.
Oh, okay.
So
So the one I think would be great, and everybody in the chat and everybody watching, please speak up if you agree. So in the Warzone Eternal and the Mutant Chronicles mythos, there is a religious faction, right? The Brotherhood or whatever, right?
correct. Yep.
And they're led by a cardinal, right? Is that
That's
correct?
correct. That is correct.
So High Cardinal Knaus, I think it would be appropriate for your Discord name. If you
It
can have
that
that
might
many,
just
or
it might
Cardinal
just be too
Knaus.
presumptuous.
Does it? I
Yeah,
don't know.
maybe, right? Like, somebody's gonna come along and be like, well, I don't know about this. I don't think you've been around long enough here to start calling yourself Cardinal.
Well, you're
Um,
not immortal like apparently they are,
which you're not supposed to tell people that. It's, that's
right?
secret.
But maybe you are, right? They don't know. They don't know how long you've been around.
That's true. That's true. They don't realize that I've been working on Warzone Eternal for
Mm.
500 years.
500 years in the far distant past.
Exactly.
Cardinal Knaus found himself beleagued by others in regards to his game design. Um, JP says, Fanatic paint line, Can't Wait, looks amazing. I don't know if everybody else knew this, but today the Army Painter did announce that they are coming out with a new paint line called Fanatic, and it looks awesome. The repackaging, the rebranding of the whole line looks great. We will not have any access to it until January. So as far as here on the show, so in season 3, we'll probably be using the Fanatic paints. But make sure you're following the Army Painter so that you don't miss any news on that. JB says, to see the future, gaze into the past. Lord Korak does ask, which mechanic in the game are you most proud of? I would almost say that based on some conversations we have had, I think one of them that I know you and Brian seem to be pretty happy with is the what's the duck for cover?
The ambush or the reactions like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd say that's probably where it's at, is the the creation of the activation / reaction mechanics, right? The idea of creating these two different action economies with kind of distinct resources for each one. And then once you've done that, right, the opportunity to then play with those, right? Because then one of the things that Brian and I talked about early on, and we really wanted to make sure that we hit, was we didn't want to create a massive amount of subsystems for the game, so that this thing played this way, and then here's this special ability, and with the special ability, here's a whole nother set of rules that tell you how to use this thing. We wanted to try to keep it clean as possible, but what it allowed us to do though is put in place something like these action reaction system, and then play with that and do things like, well, what happens if a unit doesn't have to use a reaction token in order to do certain types of reactions? Or what if in order to do something really powerful, they have to expend multiple tokens? They have to, it's both their activation and their reaction tokens. It gave us another area of the game to play in without having to build a brand new subsystem to accomplish something.
Well, there's your answer, Lord Korak, right there. I think having seen it played and utilized in game, it is the reaction mechanic is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I'm glad you think so. I mean, it's it's been fun in game, especially for people who are like longtime fans of Warzone, have played previous versions, but and then they come to this one and they realize that, whoa, this is completely different. There was never anything like this in the game back in the day. But whoa, this does add a aspect to the gameplay that makes sense, right? It works well with the alternating activation system that is kind of core to Warzone. So
it also gives it kind of like a cinematic play feel, right? Where if you are doing the thing and then you can do a reaction to take cover or dive, like cinematically, your character is diving for cover as a reaction to taking fire or whatever, or returning fire as a reaction. Those are all things that cinematically look and sound really cool. And the fact that you can integrate that into your gameplay. And if you're someone that would almost like view it as such, you're like me. I look at all that stuff from role-playing games to any game I play for a cinematic feel, and it definitely gives you that cinematic feel, and I love it. I think it's brilliant.
I'm glad you do. I mean, that was the goal. So it's it's been cool to see people engage with it and really enjoy it.
Yeah. Those mirror men, though, they're the worst. Some people want to get too granular in their rules. Advanced squad leader syndrome. Yes. Ooh. Oh, Lord Korak. Yes. Alex is the Eternal Cardinal. Yes. And that should be his name in the Discord, Eternal Cardinal.
Well, I can't take that because I mean, like we got somebody who is who's already said that they're planning on dressing up as the Cardinal for future shows. And we
Well,
can't,
that's Rick, right?
yes, and we can't take that away from him.
Well, you can, because aren't there 3 brothers or whatever?
Yeah, but only one is a Cardinal at any one time.
Oh, okay. Well, but only one is truly the Eternal Cardinal, and you
That's
never really
right.
know who it is. I don't know. We got to figure it out
All right.
because A Knaus is kind of like anticlimactic.
Stop making fun of my name, all right? It's just
No,
my user handle. It's fine.
I am not going to stop. This is so for anybody watching is wondering why am I putting another like gray on the gray. So I'm using an ash gray, which is almost it seems like a muddy primer in some regard the way I'm putting it on here, because what I want to do is I want to give it the like some weird like etches and like um, contour to the things I'm painting with it, and then I'm going to go on with like one of the contrast paints so that it um, has some more depth and cracks and crevices in these than what is already being given from the model itself, because this is too smooth on some of these surfaces for the speed paint to kind of like show off what it can do and what it does, how it gets into different cracks and crevices. And I'm hoping it might give it a little bit more aged look, because I'm going to use murder red or slaughter red. Yeah, slaughter red, because I feel like that sounds Warzone-y.
That's a good name. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
slaughter red, and I think there's murder scene as well. And I want to use that as well. It just sounds right.
I would agree with you.
So yeah, you can't go wrong with murder scene and slaughter red. Was it over here? No, that's Moonlight Coral.
It's far too calm sounding
What's
of a
that?
paint for this.
Yeah. Turned it off. But speaking of murder scenes, can we see yours? Can
Yeah.
you pick it up and show us real quick? Ooh, Tito's Brands. Let's do something with that.
So again, just working on building up a wide variety of colors to suggest all of the detritus that's spread about, and then I'll go through and try to, presuming again I don't waste all my time, try to blend this in a little bit with some of the strong tone, some dry brushing, stuff like that.
Nice. And you said you're making yours kind of look very Detroit. Is that what you just said?
Hey, serious. My name, my hometown, like
Well,
everything's up for grabs
I mean,
tonight.
is Detroit your hometown, or is Ann Arbor your hometown?
Well, now Ann Arbor is, but yeah, I
Uh,
mean, I
what? You grew up on 8 Mile?
no, no, no. I mean, I lived south of 8 Mile for a number of years, but
Then you don't know what it's like, you know. 'Cause sometimes you got to lose yourself, right?
in the moment.
In the moment. Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. Is that a quote that I know?
That's not a quote. That's the lyrics, and there's a
Oh,
difference.
okay. All right. Okay. My natural music inclination coming to life there, huh?
Oh, do you have a natural musical inclination?
Absolutely not.
Perfect.
I played guitar in a band for 2 years in high school, and then realized, oh, this is way too much work.
You were in a band in high school, and not in band.
No. I definitely was never in band.
Okay. I
And
wouldn't.
wasn't everybody in a band in high school?
No,
No. Okay. All
no,
right. Sorry.
I was not.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm not trying to exclude you.
Well, I appreciate that.
Okay.
But I wouldn't have even joined a band if I was offered the opportunity or if I had any musical uh, aptitude at all. Um,
Well, well, I
because
didn't.
I was a rebel, more so than a rebel. Yeah, I wouldn't say lone wolf. I was. It was weird. As I played sports, but I played sports that though you're on the team, it was all individual achievement
So like
sports.
wrestling and tennis, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so I was on the wrestling team, and we had a powerlifting team, but it was really just your personal achievements, right? But as
Yep.
a group, your points added up for team scores. But I wasn't like the team guy. They wanted me to play football. Nah. I was like, no, I don't want to do that. That sounds like you said about being in a band. It sounds like a lot of work, and I have to socialize with these people. So no. Um, looks like Mac Daddy rolled in on us. What's up? Yeah, he's throwing in all the emojis. I love it. Go on. It keeps the players engaged, unlike other popular systems that are stuck in IGYG. What is that? I
I
go,
go,
you
you go.
go. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Um, JP says, because, yo, we heard you like gray, so we put gray on your gray so you can gray while you gray. That's right. Thank you. That's perfect. It looks great. Great. That's so good. Lord Korak says, Camrock is struggling to get his comments to show up. He wants to ask Alex what his favorite faction and unit are. Okay. Alex, favorite
Yeah.
faction. I mean, you kind of said it, but in an upcoming release, right?
Yeah. No. So yeah, kind of alluded to that already. Yeah. So it'd be the capital was always my capital and Ilion for those people who are fluent in the Warzone speak. Those were always my factions. And then yeah, the capital Sea Lions, our all-time favorite unit, followed up by the Ilion Templars because again, kind of the random grab bag that is the Warzone universe. Let's throw in some archaic looking knights and full plate armor carrying swords and striding across the battlefield, nearly impervious to guns. Right?
Again, I don't know why you guys keep using my real life skill sets, but I appreciate it. So, how much? Okay, I know most people probably aren't going to ask this. I'm going to ask this, or wouldn't even think to ask this. But
Terrified.
yes, you should be. So there was a movie,
Yeah.
right, called Mutant Chronicles with Jane. What's his name?
Thomas Jane.
Thomas Jane as a very distinct character. And that character does exist in the Mutant Chronicles and in Warzone, correct?
Yeah, I mean, arguably one of the most significant characters in Mutant Chronicles Warzone. A guy named Mitch Hunter, who, speaking of Capital, he is a uh, soldier in the Capital military.
Okay. And so this, how much of that team that they bring together is represented in the game, right? Like there was a
So
Silent Sister or something like that.
yeah, so actually, I mean, they use the names of a number of characters, named personality characters from the universe.
Okay.
Um, but that's about all they used from the universe.
Okay.
Uh,
Interesting.
it it took a few different directions with its
Hmm.
uh, the screenplay, let's say.
Okay. I feel like when they made it, it came out around the same time as like, um, what was that movie with uh, the Yellow Man? and Jessica Alba was, and Bruce Willis were in it, and they had the
Oh, yeah, the one based off the comic book,
yeah, where it had kind
Sin
of a
City.
Sin
Sin
City,
City.
yeah, that weird like the contrasting black and white, but with splatters of red and color in like awkward scenes. Whereas that movie has a very distinct like color scheme as well, where it seems like every scene is sepia.
Yeah, I think that, and I don't know if, I mean, I'm no cinematographer. I don't know if that was an attempt to try to, shortcut, some of the cost of producing a movie like that, right? Like, you add a stylized aesthetic to it, minimizes the need to build massive sets to represent,
Hmm.
Dark Legion Citadel, stuff like that,
Right.
or if that was just the vision that the director had. But
Yeah, I feel like it was artistic. Uh, what was he? Well, Ron Perlman is like a member of the Brotherhood, right? He's a priest in
yep,
there, and I like Ron Perlman. He gets some of the best B rolls. It's so good. And what's funny is I had never seen this movie. I had never had it on my radar, nothing, until I started like again hanging out, talking, and us becoming friends. And then it's like freaking everywhere. I'll get on any streaming service and it'll be like, "Would you like to watch the Mutant Chronicles?" And
no,
I'd be like, "What? Are you kidding me?" And so I watched it, and I was like, "Oh, okay. This totally gives me everything I need to know about how this all is going to work out for the game." And now I know everything there is to know because of this movie.
yeah. Well, it was pretty funny, right? Like, I think it was on the Discord. A lot of people were talking about kind of what their exposure to the universe was, right?
Hmm.
And there's a lot of people who came back with, well, I played this edition of the miniatures game, or I played the old role playing game, or I played the old Doom Trooper card game.
Right.
There was at least one person who came back with I saw the movie.
And
And I was like, what?
that person is now the Eternal Cardinal.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. When I say that person, I'm actually talking about myself. I can't admit it. No,
Nice.
but yeah, it's crazy to me to think that was how somebody became first exposed to this universe was
Hmm.
through that movie, because that movie is just, it's wacky.
It is wacky, and what I actually enjoyed it, right, in the sense that I was entertained, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Um, and I was entertained because having had many conversations with you and Jake and Brian and in reference to it, mainly because Thomas Jane is a great Punisher. He was a great Frankenstein and I Frankenstein. He was a great was it he wasn't a vegan in he was a vegan police in uh what's his name say versus the world, Scott Pilgrim. Thank you.
Uh,
uh and when he shows up, and it sucks because I have these weird bits of trivia about certain people, and Thomas Jane, one of the weird bits of trivia I have about him is he does not like wearing shoes, right? And so i I know it's weird, but apparently he doesn't like wearing shoes. And in the scene where he shows up as a vegan police in Scott Pilgrim, he's not wearing shoes in that scene. And it's like, huh, just like Grand Moff Tarkin in Star Wars didn't like the boots that he was wearing, and so you almost never see him with below the waist in his full regalia, because he's wearing like sandals or something. And
I never heard that before.
yeah, yeah, he did not like them. They were uncomfortable, and he was just not happy. So yeah, again, just weird bits of triv. Um, so are you attending any conventions for that to round out the rest of the year to promote?
Yeah, definitely. So for the last several years, actually ever since its inaugural year,
Hmm.
I've been attending PAX Unplugged,
Okay.
and you know, Resnova, we had a booth there the very first year. We were showing off a card game that we were working on at the time. Uh, since then, we have not exhibited there.
Okay.
But this year we were coming back. We've got a booth. I'm actually building a new display board for it. The one that we've got that a lot of people have seen at Adepticon or Origins, this
Hmm.
really awesome ruined Elgaroth Citadel that Dave Taylor built for us.
Nice. Shout out Dave Taylor.
Yep, absolutely. We love that board, but it's big, and Philly's a long ways away to drive, and we're still working on what does our booth look like on a regular basis. So
Hmm.
we'll be going for something smaller this year,
Okay.
and so yeah, putting together putting together a new demo table for the booth, a couple new painted factions for people to play, and yeah, we'll
Nice.
be exhibiting there all 3 days and keeping the backer kit open until after the convention ends, in case somebody discovers the game at PAX and wants to jump in before we close down the backer kit.
Right. Very cool.
Yeah.
JP asks, any thoughts on bringing back Siege of the Citadel? And was the original game a dig at GW as the minis were by Heartbreaker?
So okay, so I think there are a couple things there. So number one, just the license that we have is to produce tabletop miniatures games. So
Hmm.
bring back Siege of the Citadel would be outside of the scope of our license.
Hmm.
Modifius just did a version a couple years ago, and it's I don't think it's available anymore. But if you can find a copy in the secondhand market, it's about as deluxe as you could want. There's multiple expansions. I think at least a third. I think there's maybe only a third character for all the factions, whereas the old school, original game only had two characters per faction.
Okay.
So there's a ton of gameplay there. So if you can find a copy of that, that's still out there. And I'd imagine that the Heroic Signatures, the company that owns the rights to Mutant Chronicles and Warzone, I'd
Hmm.
imagine they'd probably wait a little while before a new version were to be brought back out again.
Right.
But I obviously can't speak for what their plans are.
Okay.
And in terms of the old models, so I mean, I'm not entirely sure about the nature of the question about the dig at GW. Heartbreaker was composed of a number of sculptors who had been former Games Workshop people, and Heartbreaker had started sculpting models for the Mutant Chronicles role playing game, before Warzone. I think about contemporaneous with Siege of the Citadel, so there was already an established relationship there between Target Games and Heartbreaker. And so I don't know that it was a specific dig. I do think that the success of something like Hero Quest and the partnership there between Games Workshop and Milton Bradley made a company like Target realize, like, whoa, we've been making games for the hobby market, but there's a huge untapped market when it comes to mainstream gamers.
Hmm.
And so they worked with Pressman, right, which was a mainstream board game publisher, and Siege of the Citadel was the result.
Nice. Look at that, ladies and gentlemen. A wee bit of history. That was a great question, by the way, JP. JP also says, I mentioned that movie and Jake K, who we know Jake, uh, was very quick to deny it being a MC movie. That's funny. Um, Chan says 300 was like that as well. You're right. 300 did have some cinematic, artistic things that where the blood splatter and the slow motion and the very distinct color scenes um, going on. And then JP says Siege of the Citadel. Citadel was the mini side of GW back in the day, so I've always wondered if it was a sly nudge.
Oh,
Oh,
I got you. Yeah, so no, definitely not. The in the War or Mutant Chronicles universe, the Dark Legion forces were based out of these citadels that, you know, started out as these big, you know, black stone shard looking ships that would, you know, fly through space. And then when they reached wherever they were going to go, they literally just fell out of the stars, out of the skies, and just buried themselves into the ground in whatever planet they were about to invade. And
Nice.
those things were called citadels. So in Siege of the Citadel, you're specifically playing a group of corporate heroes who are going in and trying to destroy one of these things, you know, before it, you know, gains sufficient power to, you know, destroy the local population or whatever it is. So now, sure, maybe the term citadel in general, they chose to use that in the larger Mutant Chronicles lore as a reference to Games Workshop. But given that, you know, Target was originally making role playing games, and Mutant Chronicles was a role playing game well before it was a board game or a miniatures game, you know, I doubt it. But you know that I am not privy to you know, what might have been happening in those conversations 30 years ago.
Yeah, when you were a wee lad.
Yeah.
Very cool. So we are about 15 after 8, so I probably should also give some more shout outs to some of our sponsors. Um, Big shout out to Game Envy, the creators of the hobby handle. Not, you know, it's not like the only hobby handle out there, but it's a great hobby handle to have. So you can check out them. They also are the creators of the Phalanx brushes, and we love Phalanx because Phalanx is a definitely a Spartan term, and the store Hoplite is a very Spartan store that I just happen to be involved with. And let's see, who else we got? Mats by Mars with the wonderful playmat that you or paint mat you see below here that I've already messed up and gotten dirty. But I think that's just the hazard of the hobby. And let's see who else we got. Well, we've already talked about Army Painter a couple times, but we can never talk about them enough. If you haven't started using the Army Painters Speed Paint 2.0, make sure you go to your friendly local game store, pick up one of the starter sets or just a couple of bottles, give it a test run, and put it on some models and be like, ooh, it's part of my toolbox now, and I'll never use anything else. And, we should shout out that company, Res Nova. I believe they're out of Ann Arbor. Um, I'm actually wearing a hoodie that says Res Nova on it. I wanted to it looks like I might also have a little bit of dinner on here. Um, but you know, that's okay. So yeah, big shout out to Resnova, which is Alex's company that is making Warzone Eternal. And if you have not yet done so, please go over to the Kickstarter. The Kickstarter's ended, but through the Kickstarter page, you can get to the backer kit and late pledge so that you too can be a part of the Warzone Eternal Mutant Chronicles universe and defeat all your friends on the table in the near future. But in
That's
the
right.
but in the far future, all we know is death and destruction based on finding alien beings.
Right. Humanity set upon on
All sides, right?
all sides, up, down, left, and right.
Dang, that's some Ender's Game stuff right there.
Yeah, it's pretty bleak.
Oh, I should not forget Gen Con TV. If you are watching this for the first time and haven't yet followed us, please hit that heart, hit that bell so you get notifications. Because hey, Path of the Brush isn't the only program on this channel. There's amazing programming with Peter versus the Machine, um, which is Peter Atkinson, the owner of Gen Con. Has a weekly show on Mondays. There's board games with the brothers Murph on Mondays, and also Dress to Quest, a live play D&D game. Wednesdays is us, Path of the Brush, and Actoroki, which is it's kind of like a TTRPG stream, but they actually film themselves as characters in this world, and it's very interesting. They play D&D, then we turn it into a movie. You won't want to miss this. Then Thursday's Blood on the Clock Tower, and roll with Rem Alternis, who, for those of you who don't know, Rem is also the marketing manager or director of marketing for Catalyst Game Labs. And then Fridays, Table Takes presented by Gen Con, Table Takes Game Night, and Sarah's Table. Table Takes is kind of like the Friday new industry news show. So yeah, make sure you're hitting that bell, hit that heart. And if you haven't yet, use your Amazon Prime free subscription. So if you have Amazon Prime, you can subscribe free to a Twitch channel. Why not make it Gen Con TV if you haven't used it already? Because every subscription helps all the programming come to you and provide great quality and hopefully even more in the near future. That would be awesome. But back to painting. So I put this like bronzy thing on the truck over here, but now I want to like throw some of this slaughter red on it. And I
See the
don't
nice deep rust going on there.
I don't know if it's gonna be a deep rust. It's just gonna look like I kind of like maybe a trencher found his death, like he was standing here and got shot, and his blood just started all over it. Um, which is kind of like what I almost want to make like a silhouette of a body that just got misted by some sort of that big Razid the Razid gun,
Yep.
right? And just be
Yeah.
like it just misted him into like a bloody shadow on the side, and be like, who was it? I know who it wasn't.
It was definitely not Trencher Dave.
It was definitely not Trencher Dave. Yeah, people just be like, what happened there?
You don't want to know.
Yeah. I think it's one of the fun things about painting and miniatures is you can do whatever you want with it and have lots of fun with it. And I'm not usually one to paint terrain, but I've been working on not just this board today, but also like Shatterpoint terrain for the Star Wars Shatterpoint game,
Yep.
and which is super cool. I've been having a lot of fun painting that, and then my next thing is I kind of want to do what you're doing right now with building your terrain table for PAX Unplugged. Is I kind of want to build something like that because I have. So the Army Painter has this thing called the Game Masters stuff, right? It's like different box sets, and one of them is a terrain builder box. It comes with like the heat. The heat wire and foam and different types of glue, everything you need to do scratch build terrain.
Yeah.
And I would love to do something like that for even if it's just a display board for at the store where we could put a unit on there that doing something.
Well, and that's, I mean, one of the fun things about, the miniatures hobby, right, is that there's so many different ways to kind of get into it and find places that really grab you. And I mean, building terrain and painting terrain is a fundamentally different activity to painting miniatures. And so, I've had a number of friends who, for them, getting miniatures done was kind of a chore, but the prospect of sitting down and building terrain was the thing that really, really got them excited.
Nice.
Yeah.
We call those friends sociopaths.
I don't know. The guy that builds and paints little pastoral scenes to fight over, or the people that paint the miniatures that are actually engaged in the bloodshed, which one is the sociopath? I don't know.
You know what? You're right. There's a lot to unpack there.
And on the next show,
I'll be coming to you live from the insane asylum up in Newberry, Michigan.
Or at the very least on a couch, with some very professional looking person talking to you.
Yeah. So tell us, Mr. Ankney, why do you feel like you must make miniature toy soldiers to fight each other in endless conflict on board? Get out of my head.
Because Sam Elliott told me to.
That's right. Because Sam Elliott's voice spoke to me. Can you tell us more about the cool narrative campaign scenario packs and what you hope to do with them to enrich the game? Great. That's a great question, Lord Korak. Great question.
Yeah. So again, I feel like Lord Korax, trying to use my distracted painting brain to get me to divulge secrets. But no. So Brian's CP Steele, who has done a ton of the game development work with me. The two of us, what we wanted to produce, right, was a set of rules that were um, easy to play,
Mhm.
that were a nice tight base to work from, and then after we've produced those and gave people who were tournament gamers, for instance, a set of rules that they could use to play. Uh, what we wanted to do was then spend most of our time as we developed out the universe, doing exactly what Lord Korak's talking about, these idea of these narrative packs. And so the plan, right, is to do things like let's dive into this particular war zone, right? So the as part of the Kickstarter, there was an unlock for a free campaign pack. Dual Zone's the Graviton Protocol, and the
Okay.
Graviton is this set of islands on Venus that is continuously being fought over by the various corporations. And so what this gives us an opportunity to do is create a bunch of narrative
Okay.
scenarios that aren't driven necessarily by kill X number of models or go hold these objective markers, but instead things like rescue this downed pilot, right? Some people
Mhm.
have seen an example of that in one of the beta scenarios that we put out,
Like an
or
archangel?
like an archangel, exactly. Or scenarios that are decidedly asymmetric, right? Where
Mhm.
you sit down and you're not building two balanced forces. One force represents like a rear guard that's trying to hold back a overwhelming invasion force while the rest of their comrades flee or retreat. um so scenarios that are not necessarily balanced, scenarios that are more about trying to tell a story than create like a tight tournament type of experience. And then it also gives us a chance to do things like introduce a whole bunch of new terrain rules, right? So if we're going to be in the Graviton archipelago, let's have rules for dense jungles and maybe hostile plants or wildlife.
Okay.
Weather rules that could impact things like the ability to see at long range. So basically, things that we can do, places that we can kind of play with the rules and do things that again just would not work in a competitive scene, but would really help ground the game in the narrative, kind of the rich lore that has been built up around this universe for 30 years.
Okay. Nice. Hope that answered your question. JP says, in my honest opinion, painting figures is great, but if you're not building terrain, you're missing out on the wider hobby. I would agree with
I
that.
I totally agree. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Will, Mark, you got to build some terrain, guys. You did leave some of your terrain at my store. We need more terrain at the store. I got to bring all of the terrain I have here at the studio up there. So there's options for y'all. But yeah, like I said, this has actually been a lot of fun, like playing with this. I want to look into. So I don't know every product that the Army Painter makes, but I feel like they probably make some effects, right? Oil effects, rusting effects, all that stuff. I just gotta reach out and be like, hey, because I feel like there's certain areas on this thing where I could take like an oil, which is probably much like their dip. Gross, right? Their dip. It's so wild. Yeah, and just go through here and hit certain areas where it looks like oil and grime would have like leaked out of barrels or some of these um, uh, different things that are just you know not environmentally sound.
Well, I gotta say, the Army Painters tones,
Yeah.
the stronger is, I think specifically the soft tone here,
Hmm.
actually does a really good job of giving that look, and actually managed to get that with a couple pieces of metal on here, where it's
Hmm.
kind of got that yellowish oil sheen to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think those things work pretty well for that.
Okay. Then I'll grab some out of one of my many vats of paints around here. I feel like I probably have some sitting in a box nearby. And then there's this like right here. I don't know if you can see it on, but that is a big old tire.
Yep.
Big old black tire right there. Nice. Yeah, this is a lot of fun, and I hope I don't get overly addicted to just doing terrain pieces because I have so much gray just sitting around that needs to get paint on it.
Well, every gaming group needs somebody who enjoys painting terrain. So
That's true. I don't want it to be me.
okay, all right.
I'm gonna see if I. Hey, Will, could you look about and see if there is a box that has some red tops on it in the back over there? There might be some red topped army pen. Yeah, to see if there's any of the strong and soft tones. Dice. Who has boxes filled with dice around? A crazy person. I feel like it could be over there by my old paint station. Possibly. All right. Let's see. Also, I tried finding. Oh, wait, here we go. Uh, JP says mix up dark tone and dark brown wash with some gloss coat. Okay. Lord Korok says the narrative stuff is honestly some of the stuff I'm most excited for, and I'm really excited to play through them with my girlfriend or in a larger narrative event. Nice. Also, I tried finding this piece you're painting on their site, but couldn't find it. Would it be possible to get a link to it? It's perfect for Warzone. Hmm. Uh, well, we can't put links oddly in the chat, but I can send a link to. I probably should join the Discord and put it in the Discord. Perfect. Thank you. Got them. Got the dark tones.
Nice.
Let's see what we can do. What kind of damage we can do with that.
It sounds like JP gave you some insider tips there too.
He did. Well, JP, for those of you that don't know, uh, does a lot of terrain work. Um, what was it? Origins, where you had that big terrain piece over in the miniatures hall. I believe it was Origins where I first saw the amount of stuff he paints. It's crazy. And it's really good. So, all right. Yep, Origins, he says. Yeah, I'll have to join the Discord after the show, and I'll put a link in there for y'all to be able to find this particular board.
Yeah, like I say, it's a good group over there.
Yeah, they're gonna be like, oh, it's Tabletop Santa. That's my Discord handle.
Not as cool as A Canals, but whatever.
It's not as cool as Cardinal Knaus, the Eternal, which again I feel is now a necessity.
All right, we'll work on that.
All in favor of Cardinal Knaus as a Discord handle name, say aye.
Yeah.
Aye. The ayes have it.
All right. Yeah, I can't fight with the
The
unseen
unseen.
eyes.
That's right. The unseen, all-seeing eyes.
That's right.
All right. All right. So we got the soft tone, strong tone, and green tone, I think he said it was. We got green tone, dark tone, and military shader. Let's give it. Oh yeah, let's give that a shot. Military shader. All right. It's thick, like syrup. And for those of you that don't know, maple syrup is an amazing part of your diet. Please add it. I love maple syrup. So, all right. Putting like little oil leaks around where these like barrels are all crunched. And some of these, like, where's that jet engine thing? Here we go. Or whatever this piece of equipment over here is. So you got like this piece right here. Let me push this forward a little bit. Right here, which looks like a rocket fuselage piece to some sort of weird spaceship. So let's give that some oil there.
That's what I thought it was as well. So I
Yeah.
buy it.
And then inside this, the mechanical workings of this piece here, oil. There you go. This is, again, I feel like this is like one of those things that you just got to add to your skill set, right? Do some terrain. Can't let Dave Taylor take it all. For those of you that don't know, Dave Taylor is a amazing terrain builder and kit basher and painter, just all around a great hobbyist. And he's got a series of books where he spotlights other amazing painters and hobbyists in the books. And just a great person, a champion for the hobby. So, who did the Warzone table piece and stuff for Modifius and Games Workshop and I want to say one or two other companies last year and this year. If you saw any of these companies at a convention, you probably saw Dave's work. He's amazing.
Yeah, he's a super talent. We were very, very fortunate that he was able to build a table for us. It was it's kind of one of those hobby wins, right? To have Dave build a table for you.
Yeah, absolutely. He's almost always at Adepticon, so you'd probably see him there for those of you that attend Adepticon. So speaking of the future, the far future, next year, we already talked about you wrapping up this year's con scene with PAX Unplugged. What are some of the cons that you're really hoping to be spotlighting Warzone Eternal at next year?
Yeah, so we already have our booths locked down for Adepticon.
Mm-hmm.
We're going back to Origins, which is not a miniatures centric convention, but but a good one, and it's fairly local.
Mm-hmm.
We got our booth set up for that, and then we'll be at PAX Unplugged again, and hopefully, right? If we put in our application for a booth at Gen Con.
Mm-hmm.
Gen Con for me is I think I mentioned this when back in season 1. Gen Con is the convention for me. So if we can get a booth there, then we will definitely be there.
Nice.
But yeah, that's probably the plan at this point.
Very cool. I think Adepticon is going to be a lot of fun this year coming up. just because last year was my first time going. I got to go with Res Nova and kind of shake hands and kiss babies with a bunch of people there. And it was interesting in that I have never been to it, but I knew all the vendors,
Yeah.
right? I was like, oh, hey, what's up? Weird. What's up? Atomic Mass. And a bunch of, almost every vendor there I already knew in some capacity. And it felt like I was home, right? And
Ultimately, it's a smallish hobby. So,
yeah.
um,
Well, it's kind of strange because I tend to tout myself more of a like RPG guy, but I know so many people in the miniature space. It's like, am I a miniatures guy now? Am I a war gamer guy? I don't even
you
know.
are you are hosting a show in which you paint miniatures, so that
But I'm
might give
talking.
away a little bit.
I mean, yeah, but I meant more along the lines of like the whole wargaming side of it, because I've never played a lot of the war games that uh, are out there, um, or at least not in its recent iterations. And but it's funny is when I started learning about the Warzone mechanics and stuff, they didn't. It wasn't hard to pick up the ideas and the concepts because I was like, oh, this is like when I used to play this other game back in the mid '90s.
Right.
You know, um, I think one of the first war games outside of like Risk or whatever that I played, and Axis and Allies and all those old ones, the old board games, was a game called Micro Armor. Have you ever heard of
Oh,
that?
oh, heck yeah.
Yeah, I played a lot of that in the '90s, like 90. I want to say 91, 92. I played a lot of it um, when I was in the military. One of the local hobby stores at the near the base I was at, that was like one of the staple games that everybody played was Micro Armor.
Yep.
So
Yeah, you need to head to a convention like Historicon and see that there are still tons of people playing Micro Armor.
I don't know if that's true.
I it is.
No, I only say it too because I saw people playing it at Adepticon last year, and I was like, "Oh my god,
Yeah,
nerds!" No, no, it was awesome. I was
it
like,
is. No, it's
it brought
great.
back a lot of memories because we all played it with where we had periscopes, right? Where it'd
Wow.
be like, we had these little periscopes, and it would be like, "Oh, I see you. I see you over that ridge. I see the top of your vehicle. I'm going to shoot you now." And they're like,
Man,
"Oh,
like
I got to
true
verify.
line of sight.
I got to verify." And they come over and they look through it, and oh, you're right.
That's all right. I mean, it's all part of the immersion.
It is. And I'm curious is uh, in future iterations of rule sets that you're going to be laying down for Warzone, can we have periscopes? And
Yeah, that was the Kickstarter stretch goal that I should have done. Didn't even think about
oh, branded periscopes for Warzone Eternal
it.
with periscopes with a laser that attaches to your glasses, right? So you
If you have
just
a laser, I don't know that you need the periscope anymore.
oh, you absolutely need the periscope.
Okay. What do we know?
Yeah, JP had the big spaceships at Origins. Dead Zone Podcast says hi, or
Hey,
I exclamation points. Lord Korok said I. JP said I. In regards to I Knaus. Uh,
no.
uh, got to play Dave at the Michigan GT for its last Dark Age tournament. Nice. That was what 1,000 years ago. Yeah. I mean, Dave Taylor, I think, went to the Michigan GT before the pandemic, and anything
Yeah,
before the pandemic is 1,000 years ago.
fair enough.
So that means that Lord Korok is a Michigander.
He is.
Uh-oh. Is it someone that we know? Am I looking at Lord Korok? Is Lord Korok in the room? No? Okay. JP says, if you eat your vegetables and drink milk, you can grow up big and strong like Dave Taylor. So he's like 5'7". We use Micro Armor with Fistful of Toes. What is that? Fistful of Toes.
I think that's that is a Micro Armor. It's a historic or a modern military rule set.
Okay. Nice. Um, Updated rules. All right. That's super cool. All right. So let's see where you're at with yours, and we'll show off our terrain pieces here and what we got done. We're 5 minutes from the end of the program. So let's take a look at the wonderful Jesus. That looks awesome. Good Lord.
Need a little bit more time actually getting the weathering down on there. Yeah, I've got a lot of contrast paints that are still damp. But yeah, I think this thing is pretty close.
It is pretty cool. I can't wait to see you actually take some miniatures that you paint for Warzone and put them on the top like they're defending the King of the Hill here, the scrap hill, and a photo of that. That'd be super cool.
No, that'd be awesome.
That sounds like some Discord fodder if ever there was some. So, and I'm going to do the same. I'll do it with the Bauhaus miniatures I've got. So
Nice.
that would be super neat. And yeah, so yeah, we're at the end, ladies and gentlemen. Big shout out to Mark and Will in the background. If you want to come on and show your beautiful faces, we all love to see you guys. All right, that's enough. Not So for everybody watching, there's Mark and there's Will. And Will is a Conquest Vanguard for Conquest by Parabellum. And Mark is the founder, CEO, I don't know what he calls himself, of Tabletop Gurus, which is the High Cardinal. Is there a High Cardinal everywhere? Am I the High Cardinal of Hoplite? I don't want to be the High Cardinal of Hoplite. I want to be Leonidas. But yeah, so they are the behind the scenes that make this program go off without a hitch. Otherwise, there would be lots of hitches in regards to this if it was just me here. So thank you guys for everything you do. Make sure you give Tabletop Gurus a look. It's tabletopgurus.com. Is that correct? He shook his head. Yes. Yeah. So yeah, go give that a look. And then again, shout out to Army Painter, Maps by Mars, Game Envy, and Gen Con TV. And huge shout out to Res Nova and Alex for joining us today. It is always a pleasure to get to chat with you and also to harass you in any way possible. So
no, this is awesome. I really appreciate the invite. You got a great thing here, and it's fun just to sit around, push paint, and talk.
Yeah, and hopefully for those of you watching, if you have not yet done so, run over to Kickstarter, jump onto the Warzone Eternal Kickstarter and hit that link to go to the backer kit for the late pledge and join in on the Warzone Eternal hobby and game, so that, you know, who knows, there might be some events and tournaments you want to get in, and you might be able to whoop Alex's hindside on the table somewhere at a convention near you, right? Or me. I mean, I'll be bringing my units to the convention scene for one purpose: to lose, because I'm really good at that when it comes to games. So we hope to see a bunch of you watching out on the con scene, especially at Gen Con. That would be great. Other than that, I think we're done, Alex. How do you feel?
Yeah,
you feel good?
Great. I'm looking forward to finishing this up, and yeah, I will be posting final pictures to the Discord.
Perfect. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you go to your friendly local game store, pick up a brush. Don't eat the paint, but it's okay to lick the brush. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you next week, doing stuff. I'm just going to keep rambling until Mark hits the button and takes us